Chapter 53-25. Guan Qian's eyes were full of disgust. Originally, when he felt Bailey Hongzhuang's indifferent attitude, he felt very angry. He didn't expect that Sister Sei Wu, who he was familiar with, also hated her so much. It could be seen that there was a problem with her. Who is the person you said was going to take the inscription master examination? Xiao Soa looked at Guan Qian. She didn't hear that Bewitching and others had the inscription master's talent. It must be known that an inscription master with superb inscription technique was also an extraordinary existence. However, the difficulty of becoming an inscription master was no less than that of an alchemist. In the past, she had also learned inscription technique. However, this aspect was too complicated. She tried to understand it for a while but finally gave up. Instead of learning those obscure inscription patterns, it was better to put all her energy into cultivation. After all, becoming the Holy Maiden of Light was the most important. At that time, the master she learned from was Guan Qian's father, Master Guan. It was because of this that the two of them met. "It's that Bailey Hongzhuang," Guan Qian said. As soon as these words came out, Xiao Soa couldn't help but be startled. Even Jun Lingshuan, who was beside her, revealed an expression of disbelief. "What did you say? Bailey Hongzhuang wants to take the inscription master examination?" Guan Qian nodded slightly. Yes, she even paid the examination fee of 10,000 yuan. Xiao Soa rolled her eyes and couldn't help but ridicule. Does Bailey Hongzhuang really think that she is talented and can do anything? Jun Lingshuan also had a face of disbelief. Previously, when Bailey Hongzhuang showed her innate talent as an alchemist and doctor, they were extremely shocked. It had to be said that from this point of view, Bailey Hongzhuang was indeed very powerful. She did what many people couldn't do. However, in addition, Bailey Hongzhuang actually wanted to become an inscription master. This was really a fantasy. "Guan Qian, tell us about the previous matter in detail." Xiao Soa narrowed her eyes. "If she is talking nonsense, we will teach her a lesson." "That's great." Seeing that Xiao Soa was willing to help him vent his anger, Guan Qian revealed an excited smile on his face. Then, he recounted everything that had happened in the Inscription Association. "You mean to say that Bailey Hongzhuang wants to take the Inscription Master examination because she wants to see the guild's library?" Jun Lingshuan was stunned. Why did he feel that Bailey Hongzhuang's thoughts were so incomprehensible? "That's right." Guan Qian nodded. "Don't you think this idea is hilarious? Was it really that easy to pass the Inscription Master exam? I feel that she is simply blaspheming the inscription technique. In that case, she has already paid the examination fee and is preparing to take the examination in 3 days. Xiao Sei Wu's eyes flashed with a trace of light. She didn't know how to make Bailey Hongzhuang lose face, but she didn't expect that the opportunity would appear in front of her so quickly. It seems that even the heavens couldn't stand it anymore. That should be the case. Guan Qian was a little hesitant. She has indeed paid the examination fee. However, I don't know if she is deliberately saying this to save her face. Anyway, the D family is rich and imposing. 10,000 spirit stones is nothing to them. Originally, he was very confident that Bailey Hongzhuang would take the examination. However, ever since he found out that she was the young madam of the D family, his thoughts were shaken. Chapter 53-26. Listening to Guan Qian's words, Xiao Soa chuckled, and her eyes flashed with a sly light. "Since he has already paid this fee, we can't let him waste it, right?" Guan Qian looked at Xiao Soa in confusion. "Sister So, what do you mean? Doesn't Bailey Hongzhuang like to pretend to be powerful? Then we will help her publicize this matter, so that everyone can see how much ability this talented woman has." Xiao Soa's dark pupils revealed pride and shrewdness. During this time, Bailey Hongzhuang had been in the limelight. In a short period of time, many people thought that she was a character who could stand shoulder to shoulder with her. She didn't want Bailey Hongzhuang to use her as a stepping stone. If she could make Bailey Hongzhuang lose face in front of so many people, then Bailey Hongzhuang would be dreaming if she wanted to be arrogant in front of her in the future. With Xiao Soa's words, Jun Lingshuan and Guan Qian had already understood her meaning, and a conspiratorial smile suddenly appeared on their faces. "It seems that we have to help her publicize it. After the three of them made a plan, they didn't continue to stay outside the Drunken Cloud residence, but chose to go to another place to discuss in detail. Hong Zhuang, that young man from the Inscription Association, seems to have followed us all the way here. What is he going to do? Ling reminded Bailey Hong Zhuang. As a monster, her perception in this regard was also very strong. Although Guan Qian had been maintaining a certain distance, she still felt it clearly. Hearing this, Bailey Hong Zhuang was slightly stunned, and then she couldn't help but shake her head helplessly. This guy is really vengeful. I just sighed, and I didn't even say what was going on, but he still held a grudge and followed us all the way here. It was precisely because she didn't want to cause trouble that she didn't say what was wrong, but she didn't expect to be remembered. That kid is used to being pursued by others. He is proud and arrogant. How can he stand being wronged? Bai Li Yanche was very calm. Should I go and catch that kid and ask him what he wants to do? Well, if he wants to follow, then let him follow. Anyway, it's nothing. Bailey Hong Zhuang shrugged and took a sip of tea with her red lips. Her delicate face was calm and indifferent. According to her judgment, this kid couldn't make any big waves. He just followed them here because of a moment of anger. He couldn't find trouble with them alone. He would leave after a while. That's true. It's useless for that kid to come here alone. Bailey Yanche chuckled. What a brat. At night, Bailey Hong Zhuang went to Shi Hongchao's house again. When the two arrived, they found Shi Hongzhuang Yu, and find Shi is Wang Zhuang Yu. Look at him. Young Master D, young madam. Looking at Deacon Shi's happy face, something good must have happened. Bewitching joked with a smile. Originally, they came here to ask if Deacon Shi had taken back Xiao Zhengliang's position after he abdicated. However, now they knew the result just by looking at Deacon Shi's expression. Chapter 53:27. We just happened to bump into them today. It's their bad luck. Bailey Hong Zhuang smiled slightly. They had originally planned to take back the position of the Holy Maiden of Light, and then find a way to help Shi Hongchao regain his position. They didn't expect that Xiao Zhengliang would be kicked out of the position today. It was really an unexpected gain. I've heard about what happened today. Since it happened, almost everyone in the Sacred Assembly has been talking about it. Now Xiao Zhengliang is too ashamed to face everyone. I heard that he has returned to the Xiao family. I'm afraid he won't have a good time after returning. Speaking of which, I really have to thank the two of you for helping me vent my anger. Xiao Zhengliang shot himself in the foot today. But with Xiao Sou's temper, I'm afraid it won't be easy for Xiao Zhengliang to stay in the Xiao family in the future. After today's incident, Bailey Hong Zhuang also understood the extent of Xiao Sou's resentment towards her. Xiao Zhengliang made her lose face in front of her. Xiao Sou would definitely not let him go. By the way, did President Lu punish the vice president after returning? Di Beichen slowly said, his right hand rubbing the teacup. His long eyelashes fluttered, blocking the pair of charming eyes, making people unable to see clearly. As soon as President Lu returned, he directly called the vice president into the room. We could vaguely hear some reprimanding, but we don't know how he was punished. I heard that the vice president's face was very ugly when he came out. What about Xiao Sou? President Lu didn't say much about Xiao Sou. After all, this matter can be said to be a matter of the Sacred Assembly, but it can also be said to be a matter of the Xiao family. It's because of this angle that President Lu didn't say much. Shi Hongchao smiled. After this incident, I think the vice president's influence in the Sacred Assembly will be greatly reduced. Since Deacon Shi has returned to this position, it will be more convenient for you to do other things. Di Beichen said lightly. Of course. Young Master D, don't worry. There won't be any problems when the time comes. If that's the case, then we won't stay any longer. We should reduce our contact with each other for a while to avoid being discovered by others. The next day, a piece of news quickly spread throughout the Piercing Wind City. Have you heard? The young mistress of the D family is going to take the Inscription Master examination. Isn't Bailey Hong Zhuang an alchemist and a doctor? Why do you want to take the inscription test now? This news came from the Inscription Association. It's 100% true. This is simply too fierce. It's already amazing for a normal person to be able to learn a single one, but not only did she learn two, but there's also a third. Lin Ming said. For a moment, everyone was amazed by Bailey Hongzhuang's energy and strength. If it were an ordinary person, it would be impossible for them to do so at the same time. As the news spread more and more widely, everyone began to believe that Bailey Hongzhuang was a very powerful inscription master. Of course, there were also many people who were disdainful and thought that it was just a claptrap and not to be taken seriously. Ling Sun, I've sent people out early this morning to spread the news. Now, the news has spread throughout the streets of the Piercing Wind City. Chapter 53:28. Jun Lingxuan asked with a faint smile, I believe that they will be very surprised after hearing this news. Now that they are riding a tiger, they have no choice but to take part in the assessment. That's natural. Xiao Sou's face was filled with pride as her eyes twinkled with joy. Not only that, I have also specially prepared a big gift for them. What gift? The Alchemist Guild's president Lu Yuhai has a very good relationship with Master Guan. I heard that President Lu will be meeting Master Guan today, so I specially asked Guan Qian to say a few words in front of them. Bailey Hongzhuang is a deacon of the Alchemist Guild and President Lu values her greatly. I believe that after hearing this news, he will be very happy to see Bailey Hongzhuang take the assessment. Xiao Sou raised her eyebrows. Don't you think that it will be very interesting? I wonder how President Lu will react when he sees his own guild's deacon being humiliated like this? Jun Lingxuan was stunned at first, but after understanding, his face revealed a sinister smile. Then the situation will be very interesting. Bailey Hongzhuang was originally peacefully cultivating when she suddenly heard a knock on the door. Only then did she exit her cultivation state with some doubts in her heart. Who would be looking for us at this time? Could it be Jiang Wenyan? Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Di Beichen. The few of them did not go out. Other than him, I'm afraid that there is no one else. Di Beichen took the lead to open the door. As expected, the moment he opened the door, he saw Jiang Wenyan standing outside with an anxious expression. The two of you are still so calm? What happened? Di Beichen's brows wrinkled slightly, his handsome and unparalleled face filled with a trace of dignity. Now the entire Piercing Wind City is spreading the news about you guys. I heard that Hongzhuang is going to take the Inscription Master assessment. How did you know? Bailey Hongzhuang was surprised. Other than them and the attendant of the Inscription Association, no one else knew about this news. I don't know who leaked the news, but now everyone is talking about this matter. Everyone is saying that you are a first-class genius who is good at all kinds of occupations. Jiang Wenyan walked into the house with a worried look on his face. But I think this is overpraising him. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang and Lin Yiqian immediately understood. Are the rumors exaggerated? Di Beichen asked in a deep voice. It's very exaggerated, almost praising Hongzhuang as if she is the best in the world. Jiang Wenyan nodded. If she can't pass the inscriptionist examination this time, then I'm afraid. Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen looked at each other. They were familiar with this kind of flattery. The higher he raised her now, the worse she would fall when the time came. Could it be that Guan Qian did it? Xiao He stomped her feet in anger. That guy is too despicable. We didn't even do anything yesterday. Is there a need for this? Di Beichen shook his head slightly. With that guy's temperament, I'm afraid he won't do something as complicated as overpraising. That's strange. Other than him, there is no one else. Xiao Bai knocked on her head, completely unable to understand. However, at this moment, Bailey Hongzhuang and the other two said in unison, Xiao Sou. The three of them looked at each other. Other than him, there was no one else who would do this. Xiao Sou has really put in a lot of effort to deal with me. Chapter 53:29. Now all the streets and alleys are spreading this news. It must be Xiao Sou's special instructions. Under their exaggeration, this news is getting more and more exaggerated. It's simply amazing. Jiang Wenyan's jade-like face was full of worry. The news is getting more and more intense. When the Inscription Master examination begins, it will have spread to the ears of all forces. At that time, with Xiao Sou's temper, I'm afraid that she will try her best to make this examination be carried out in front of everyone. Bewitching slightly frowned. His pair of black eyes that were brighter than the stars in the dark night revealed a trace of heaviness and complexity. According to the situation that Jiang Wenyan said, he could almost conclude that Xiao Suo would absolutely not just do this. She did this to make Bailey Hongzhuang lose face. Since she wanted to lose face, she naturally had to do it in front of everyone to maximize the effect. Hearing this, Jiang Wenyan's pupils shrank and his worry became even more intense. In this way, won't this inscription master examination become a Hongmen banquet? Forget it. Since Xiao Suo painstakingly prepared for me, if I don't accept her kindness, won't I disappoint her too much? Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes revealed a terrifying self-confidence, and a sharp light flashed with extreme arrogance. Noticing Bailey Hongzhuang's expression, Jiang Wenyan suddenly realized that the beautiful woman in front of him who didn't seem like an ordinary person also had such a domineering side. The original worry seemed to have quietly dissipated a little. The previously difficult to deal with flattery also became easy to break. Do you really want to participate in the inscription master examination? Bailey Hongzhuang nodded lightly. Since I've signed up, I naturally have to participate. Otherwise, wouldn't I have wasted 10,000 spirit stones in vain? The reason for participating was that she didn't want to waste 10,000 spirit stones. Jiang Wenyan's lips twitched. Why did he feel that it was so unbelievable to hear from a 9th-level alchemist that she couldn't waste 10,000 spirit stones? I finally understand. You guys are determined to succeed in this matter. Jiang Wenyan looked at the two people who were calm and collected. He immediately understood that he had been worried for nothing. Bewitching and Li Du already had a plan in mind. However, he still found it hard to believe that Bailey Hongzhuang was an inscription master. Brother Jiang, thank you so much for coming all the way here just for us. Bewitching poured a cup of tea and handed it to Jiang Wenyan. Have some tea. Just wait for the show in 2 days. I do need some tea to calm my nerves. Jiang Wenyan drained the tea in one gulp and stared at Bailey Hongzhuang with his clear eyes that were as gentle as the sea. He asked with some confusion and surprise, Miss Bailey, I'm really curious as to how you managed to master so many professional skills. By his side, there were many powerful cultivators. But apart from Bailey Hongzhuang, there was no one else who had so many talents gathered in one body. I'm just interested. If you're willing to spend more time, I'm sure you can too. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly. Her indifferent appearance seemed to be saying that as long as you're willing, you can even eat a few bowls of rice. Of course, Jiang Wenyan wouldn't believe such words. To master a profession, not only does it require time, it also requires talent. Most importantly, a person's energy is limited. It's impossible to take care of everything. Chapter 53:30. After Xiao Suo had released the news, she ate her snacks and drank her tea proudly. She did not seem to be in a bad mood after being taught a lesson yesterday. It was only when she saw one of her subordinates return that her eyes lit up. She put the snacks back and looked at the person in high spirits. How was it? Did you notice any movements from Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest? Reporting to young miss, your guess is right. Jiang Wenyan rushed to the Drunken Cloud residence early in the morning and did not come out after entering Bewitching's room. Oh! Xiao Suo's brows slowly rose. They didn't do anything else? No, in this situation, it's impossible for them to turn the situation around. Even if they are in the room trying to think of a way, it's useless. Based on their standards, how can they fight with you? The man's face was full of flattery and he did not hold back when he belittled Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest. However, Xiao Suo was obviously pleased with his words. She was already in a good mood and now she was in an even better mood. She immediately threw a money bag to the man. This is your reward. Continue to keep an eye on them and don't let them have the chance to escape. The man received the money bag in surprise. Just by feeling the weight of the bag, he knew that the spirit stones here were enough for him to cultivate for a while. His eyes were filled with gratitude as he said, "Thank you, young miss, I will definitely keep an eye on them." In the blink of an eye, the day of the inscription master's assessment had arrived. On this day, the entire Piercing Wind City was bustling with noise and excitement. Almost all the pedestrians on the bustling streets were discussing this matter. Today is the day of the Inscription Masters Association's assessment. I wonder if Bailey Hongzhuang will really go for the assessment? Of course, this news has spread like wildfire. If she doesn't go, wouldn't it be terrible? Furthermore, this is a good opportunity to prove her ability. You're really naive. With one look, you can tell that this news was not spread by Bailey Hongzhuang. It was spread by someone who wanted to mess with her. Among the cultivators, there were many people with discerning eyes. They only needed to think for a moment to know who was the initiator of this matter. As long as she was not an idiot, Bailey Hongzhuang would not do such a thing. Bailey Hongzhuang walked on the wide street and listened to the discussions in front of her. Her clear black eyes flashed with a trace of gratification. It seems that everyone is not stupid. You've all seen through the entire matter. Jiang Wenyan looked at the relaxed Bailey Hongzhuang and couldn't help but remind her, after you go there, Xiao Soa might have other plans to deal with you. You have to be mentally prepared. I know. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly. Her already exquisite face became even more beautiful under the sunlight. Her fair skin was so delicate that it looked like it could be broken by the wind. No matter what she does, I'll take it. When they arrived at the Inscription Association, they noticed that the entire association was extremely lively. The degree of crowding was even more exaggerated than when they first arrived. It was to the extent that the entrance of the association was already packed to the point that not even a drop of water could trickle through. Obviously, the purpose of everyone's trip was to watch a good show. Bailey Hongzhuang is here. I don't know who shouted in the crowd, but suddenly the entrance of the Inscription Association was blocked, and in the blink of an eye, a path was opened for Bailey Hongzhuang and the others to walk together. Chapter 53-31. Bailey Hongzhuang, you're finally here. Xiao Soa looked at Bailey Hongzhuang with sparkling eyes. She lifted her chin slightly, revealing a sense of ridicule and complacency. Oh, isn't this the Saint of Light? Logically speaking, you should be very busy. Why are you so leisurely all day long? Why can I see you everywhere? Bailey Hongzhuang pretended to be surprised as she looked at Xiao Soa. Her delicate face had an elegant smile as usual. Don't be so sarcastic. Xiao Soa's eyes were cold. She didn't know why, but Bailey Hongzhuang always had the ability to make her angry. I'm just worried about you. That's why I came to see your assessment today. Bailey Hongzhuang chuckled. Her dark eyes were filled with ridicule and playfulness. I didn't expect you to be so concerned about me. Xiao Soa glared at Bailey Hongzhuang. She didn't know what to say. Coincidentally, there was a commotion behind her. She quickly turned her head. In her line of sight, Master Guan of the Inscription Association and the president of the Alchemist Association, Lu Yuhai, walked out together. Looking at the lively scene outside, their eyes flashed with a trace of surprise. I didn't expect that today's Inscription Master assessment would attract so much attention. Guan Jingshan couldn't help but sigh. Even if there were many forces heading to the Piercing Wind City recently, the Inscription Association shouldn't have attracted so much attention. Looking at Guan Jingshan's puzzled expression, Lu Yuhai couldn't help but chuckle. Today, everyone is here for Bailey Hongzhuang. After saying that, Lu Yuhai's gaze also fell on Bailey Hongzhuang. Greetings, President Lu. Bailey Hongzhuang respectfully bowed. Towards this highly respected president, her heart was still filled with deep respect. We haven't seen each other for a long time since we parted in Chishui City. Lu Yuhai smiled as he looked at Bailey Hongzhuang. I didn't know that you had a talent in inscription. Guild leader Lu, you must be joking. I only know a little about it. You were originally a genius alchemist. Being able to grasp a bit of the surface in other aspects is already something that others cannot compare to. Lu Yuhai turned to look at Guan Jingshan and said, Master Guan, let me introduce you. This is the young madam of the D family. She's also an excellent deacon of the Alchemist Guild. She's a rare genius alchemist. Lu Yuhai obviously admired Bailey Hongzhuang very much. The moment he opened his mouth, all he said were good things about her. Greetings, Master Guan. Hearing this introduction, Guan Jingshan looked at Bailey Hongzhuang with a hint of surprise in his eyes. I didn't expect Miss Bailey to be so talented. She is really outstanding. While Guan Jingshan was sizing her up, Bailey Hongzhuang was also sizing her up. Even though this was the first time they had met, there was no doubt that this person was Guan Qian's master. She originally thought that Guan Jingshan was also aware of this scheme. However, looking at the current situation, it seemed that Guan Jingshan was also kept in the dark. Master, there are so many people here today to watch Miss Bailey's inscription test. It wouldn't be good if everyone returned disappointed. In addition, there are many inscription masters participating in the test. Thus, I arranged for today's test to be held in the open. What do you think? Guan Qian spoke up at the right time. His grandfather had always been infatuated with inscription techniques. He didn't care about other things. Chapter 53-32. As Guan Jingshan listened to Guan Qian's proposal, he couldn't help but frown. Usually, this assessment was held in the inner sanctum, and outsiders simply couldn't see it. Today's lively scene made him feel that something was wrong. In addition to his understanding of his grandson, he was afraid that there really was something fishy going on. Feeling Guan Jingshan's gaze that seemed to see through everything, Guan Qian couldn't help but lower his head. He secretly cursed in his heart, I shouldn't have revealed any flaws. How come grandfather seems to have seen through everything? As Xiao Sou saw this, she quickly said, the Inscription Association has always been mysterious to everyone. Since everyone wants to see it this time, why don't we do it in the open? I believe that no one will object. The crowd suddenly burst into cheers. As the saying goes, one doesn't mind watching a good show. They didn't want to miss out on such an opportunity. Most importantly, they also wanted to know if Bailey Hongzhuang really had the ability to do this. If she did, then Bailey Hongzhuang's talent was simply too amazing. If she didn't, then how Bailey Hongzhuang would step down today would be an interesting question. No matter from which angle, this was a good show. Guan Jingshan looked at the situation around him. Although he expected that something was wrong, he didn't know what the problem was at the moment. Jun Lingshuan immediately said, Grandmaster, look at these inscription apprentices who are about to take the assessment. They all agree. Guan Jingshan turned to look. Sure enough, the apprentices who were waiting for the assessment all nodded. They didn't seem to have any objections. Only Bailey Hongzhuang frowned. Xiao Sou also noticed Bailey Hongzhuang's awkward expression. Suddenly, the light in her eyes became brighter and brighter. She immediately said, Bailey Hongzhuang, you don't dare to do it, do you? As soon as these words came out, everyone's eyes fell on Bailey Hongzhuang, full of curiosity. What does it have to do with you whether I dare or not? Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrows, and the corners of her lips pulled up in a devilish smile. Against her stunning face, there was an indescribable seductive charm. In an instant, her beauty was limitless. Looking at such a Bailey Hongzhuang, the eyes of the men couldn't help but brighten. Such a woman was really a stunner. If it weren't for Bewitching's unshakable status and the fact that he was always by Bailey Hongzhuang's side, he really couldn't control his heart's desire. Facing such a Bailey Hongzhuang, Xiao Seiwu was also stunned for a moment, and her bright eyes could not help but flash with a trace of jealousy and resentment. It was this damned woman in front of her who had stolen all of her glory. You praises, is right, antes is it to let everyone see your ability, tsestes? Now that everyone is here, you should be the most satisfied. Why do you have to be so secretive? Xiao Sou snorted disdainfully, her eyes full of ridicule. I praised myself? Bailey Hongzhuang chuckled. Miss Xiao, when you do things, you should at least use your brain. In the end, who did this, everyone knows in their hearts. I don't know what you're talking about. Xiao Sou's expression was calm, as if she didn't understand at all. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang and Xiao Sou's tit-for-tat, Guan Jingshan and Lu Yuhai couldn't help but look at each other. In their minds, they had some understanding of this matter. Chapter 53-33. Lu Yuhai was a smart person. Back in Chishui City, he already knew that Xiao Sou and Bailey Hongzhuang were not on good terms. It seemed that Xiao Sou had deliberately set up a trap for Bailey Hongzhuang. When he first heard the news, he felt that it was very strange. According to his understanding, Bailey Hongzhuang was not a high-profile person. Even when she revealed her talent in alchemy, she did not have the slightest bit of arrogance. On the contrary, she was very humble. As the president, he had seen all kinds of people. Just from her behavior at that time, he could determine Bailey Hongzhuang's temperament. However, now that he knew that Xiao Shou was behind this, everything could be explained. President Liu, what do you think about this? Guan Jingshan looked at Liu Yuhai. Now that almost everyone was here for this matter, it was not impossible for him to force the test to be carried out internally. However, it would attract a lot of criticism. However, Bailey Hongzhuang was not only the young madam of the Di family, she was also a deacon of the Alchemist Guild. Naturally, he had to ask for Liu Yuhai's opinion. This matter was clearly a trap set up by Xiao Shou and Guan Qian. If Bailey Hongzhuang lost face, then Liu Yuhai would naturally lose face as well. Hearing this, Liu Yuhai originally wanted to force the test to be carried out internally. However, when he saw Di Beichen's calm appearance from the corner of his eyes, he changed his mind. Di Beichen was famous for being protective of his wife. If this matter really affected Bailey Hongzhuang, then no matter what, Di Beichen would have already stepped out to stop it. Now that he did not say anything, it was obvious that he had come prepared. When Xiao Shou saw that Guan Jingshan had actually asked Liu Yuhai about it, she could not help but feel anxious. Master Guan, we have already prepared everything. Let's just carry it out like this. Bailey Hongzhuang, if you have the ability, then go ahead with the assessment. If you don't, then just admit it. Xiao Shou narrowed her eyes and tried to goad her. She had to carry out this plan today. She wanted to see how Bailey Hongzhuang would respond. Looking at Xiao Shou's anxious and helpless appearance, Bailey Hongzhuang chuckled, and her smile became more charming and enchanting. Since Miss Xiao wants to see me take the test so much, then I'll fulfill your wish. Following Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Xiao Shou couldn't help but be stunned. She stared at Bailey Hongzhuang, wondering if she had heard wrongly. Bailey Hongzhuang actually agreed? Not to mention Xiao Shou, even Guan Qian was confused. He felt that Bailey Hongzhuang was really strange and did not play by the rules at all. On the contrary, Liu Yuhai revealed a meaningful smile after hearing this answer. His judgment was right, Bailey Hongzhuang had come prepared. Since that's the case, then today's assessment will be carried out in the open. Guan Jingshan breathed a sigh of relief. He did not want to make his good friend unhappy. The original situation was really a little difficult for him, but now that Bailey Hongzhuang had agreed, it was easier for him to make a decision. For a moment, everyone turned to the venue of the assessment, and the discussions and suspicions became more and more intense. I don't know if Bailey Hongzhuang really has this ability. Looking at her expression, it doesn't seem like she doesn't have any real ability. I don't know. Maybe she just doesn't want to lose her momentum in front of Xiao Shou. Chapter 53-34. When the Di family arrived at the Piercing Wind City, they realized that there were only a few pedestrians on the streets. It was not as lively as they had expected, and everyone was puzzled. It's almost time for the inauguration ceremony of the Holy Maiden of Light. Logically speaking, the entire Piercing Wind City should be packed with people. Why are there so few people here? Di Zhirai's face was filled with doubt. Usually, when there was a lively event, it would be extremely lively. Today's scene is indeed a little strange. Di Xiaofeng frowned slightly. Even the usual Piercing Wind City is more lively than it is now. Could it be that something has happened that we don't know about? Bailey Yunyan guessed. Just as everyone was walking towards their destination with doubts in their hearts, many passers-by saw them and their eyes were filled with curiosity. Look, the Di family is here. Did they know that Bailey Hongzhuang is going to take the Inscription Master assessment today, so they specially rushed over? It should be, otherwise it wouldn't be such a coincidence. Maybe they are worried that Bailey Hongzhuang will be embarrassed, so they specially rushed over to save the day. Di Xiaofeng had already felt that something was amiss, and when he heard Bailey Hongzhuang's name being mentioned, he immediately called out to the man. What did you just say? Say it again. The man who was called out looked at Di Xiaofeng's gloomy expression and his face turned pale. He quickly waved his hand and said, No. Nothing. Cut the crap, I heard you say something about an assessment? Di Xiaofeng stared at the man. "Tell me everything." Seeing this, the man did not dare to hide anything and immediately told Di Xiaofeng everything that he knew. After hearing everything, Di Xiaofeng's gloomy expression became even more gloomy. He did not expect that Hong Zhuang and the rest had only arrived at the Piercing Wind City for a short while, and this Xiao So had already thought of ways to set such a big trap for them. "Damn it," Di's cursed. "The more I look at this Xiao So, the more I find her to be an eyesore. I have never heard of Hong Zhuang having a talent in inscription, and this news has spread like wildfire. In the Piercing Wind City, only the Xiao family can achieve this in such a short period of time." Di Xiaofeng could not help but look at Di Yujue. His slightly cold jade face was filled with seriousness and worry. "Father, we should also go and take a look. We can't just watch Hong Zhuang get tricked by Xiao So just like this." "Dai Heoan, come, let's go and take a look." Di Yujue made his decision with a wave of his hand. His handsome face that was like jade carried a trace of coldness. Adding on the powerful aura that he unconsciously emitted, it caused the pedestrians on the street to involuntarily retreat when they saw this, as they were afraid of angering him. Mo Yunjue and the other three were also in the group. After hearing this news, their feelings were extremely complicated. "I think this Xiao So is really too much. She can even think of such a method." Shangguan Yingying secretly spat as her clear eyes were filled with disgust. "I really want to see how she will stop." Chapter 53-35. Hearing Xiren's words, Shangguan Yingying was slightly stunned. Previously, she had been thinking that this was Xiao So's trap and had forgotten about this. Thinking about it carefully, Hong Zhuang did seem to know the inscription technique? Really? Ao Lingxiao's face was originally filled with indignation, but when he heard Xiren's words, he could not help but be stunned. Hong Zhuang knows the inscription technique? Why didn't I know about this? "There are many things that you don't know," Shangguan Yingying said calmly. "Hong Zhuang is not someone who likes to show off. There are many things that you wouldn't know if you didn't meet her." Mo Yunjue's magnetic and cold voice rang out. Compared to Xiren's uncertainty, his voice was filled with certainty. Hong Zhuang does know the inscription technique. Hearing Mo Yunjue's words, Xiren and the rest were relieved. They knew how much Mo Yunjue cared about Bailey Hongzhuang. Since he said so, it proved that this matter was definitely not wrong. Since Hong Zhuang does have the inscription technique talent, then what about today's trap? Shangguan Yingying raised her eyebrows. Why couldn't she understand it all of a sudden? "Don't be impatient. We will know when we see it." Mo Yunjue was rather calm. Facing Xiren and the rest's puzzled gazes, he explained, "Hong Zhuang and Di Beichen are not people who are easily tricked." Shangguan Yingying and the rest nodded their heads secretly. They absolutely agreed with this point. Whether it was Bailey Hongzhuang or Di Beichen, they were all extremely intelligent. Jun Lingxuan and Xiao So had long been thinking of ways to scheme against them. However, in the end, they fell into their hands. After confirming that the inscription assessment would be held in public, Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest followed the large group to the open-air plaza of the Piercing Wind City. This open-air plaza was specially designed for public competitions or assessments. In the center was a circular platform, and the seats around it were arranged in a stair-like manner, forming a circle that surrounded the central platform. This ensured that everyone sitting on the high platform could clearly see the situation on the high platform. The Piercing Wind City was a humongous city, and this open-air plaza was equally extravagant. At a glance, it wouldn't be a problem to accommodate hundreds of thousands of people. Guan Jingshan and Lu Yuhai led the inscriptionist apprentices who were participating in today's assessment to the most important high platform. The various powers who came to watch the show all sat down around the platform. The scale of this open-air plaza was extremely large, but it could not hold the crowd. Within a short period of time, the entire plaza was filled to the brim. Almost everyone in the Piercing Wind City was attracted to this place. Today, as per everyone's request, the Inscription Association's assessment will be held here. During the assessment, I hope that everyone can remain quiet. Inscription drawing is an extremely meticulous task, and the slightest disturbance could lead to failure. This is also the reason why our association's assessment has always been held internally. Guan Jingshan looked at the many cultivators nearby, and his calm and deep voice was clearly transmitted to everyone's ears with the support of his elemental energy. Due to the unprecedented scale of this assessment, we have specially arranged for many inscriptionists to take part in the assessment today. Chapter 53-36. This was also the decision Guan Jingshan made after understanding the situation today. It was rare to have such a lively scene, and it was not a bad idea to let the inscription masters of the guild experience it together. Of course, there was another reason for him to do this, and that was to take care of Bailey Hongzhuang. Although he was not sure what happened between Bailey Hongzhuang and Xiao Sou, he knew that Bailey Hongzhuang's inscription technique was not up to standard. That was why Xiao Sou planned to humiliate him in front of everyone. Bailey Hongzhuang agreed to take the assessment in this open field, and it undoubtedly eased his difficulties. As an elder, he naturally could not let the younger generation take care of him. Moreover, this matter was related to his grandson. He gathered so many inscription masters to take the assessment together, and he knew that the failure rate would not be low. In this way, even if Bailey Hongzhuang failed, she would not be embarrassed. Bailey Hongzhuang was a little surprised after hearing Guan Jingshan's introduction. After noticing Guan Jingshan's kind eyes, she suddenly had some understanding in her heart. Originally, when she saw Guan Qian's vengeful appearance, she thought that Guan Jingshan was also such a person. However, it seemed that she had misunderstood. At least this Master Guan was magnanimous and did not help Guan Qian to deal with her. Instead, he took care of her. Compared to Bailey Hongzhuang's happiness, Xiao Sou could not help but frown. Her elegant face was full of dissatisfaction, but she did not show it. Guan Qian, what's wrong with your grandfather? Why is he helping Bailey Hongzhuang? Xiao Sou turned her head to look at Guan Qian. Her dark eyes were filled with confusion and depression. The reason why they set up such a big scene was to put Bailey Hongzhuang on the spot. Now, Master Guan actually took the initiative to give Bailey Hongzhuang a way out. Guan Qian was slightly stunned, and his expression was a little awkward. He did not dare to look into his grandfather's eyes. He was afraid that he would be reprimanded when he went back today. Grandpa probably knew that we were behind this, so he did this. Guan Qian lowered his head. He knew his grandfather too well. Although Guan Jingshan had always put all his attention on inscription technique, he had always been fair and could not stand this kind of thing. It was precisely because of this that he did not dare to be too presumptuous on weekdays. This time, in fact, he was originally a bit entangled, but it happened that Xiao Seiwu also wanted to deal with Bailey Hongzhuang, so he helped a bit. However, from his grandfather's attitude, he was afraid that, looking at Guan Qian's worried look, Xiao Sou's eyes revealed a trace of disdain. This guy still hadn't really grown up yet. He couldn't even handle her grandfather. What else could he do? Because there were suddenly a lot of inscriptionists coming to take the test, they still needed some time to prepare, so everyone waited patiently. During this process, the Xiao family's patriarch, Xiao Yanlong, and the Jun family's patriarch, Jun Hongcheng, both arrived at the open-air plaza. Seeing the appearance of these two people, everyone looked sideways. I didn't expect that even these two patriarchs would come. It seems that today's matter will cause a stir. Although I already knew that both sides were connected by marriage, it seems that their relationship is not ordinary. Chapter 53-37. Seeing the appearance of Xiao Yanlong and Guan Zhenyu, Xiao Sou, who was originally unhappy, had a joyful smile on her face. She had previously informed Xiao Yanlong about this matter, but even she did not expect Xiao Yanlong to come personally. Guan Jingshan and Lu Yuhai were also surprised when they saw this scene. Master Xiao, Master Jun, I did not expect that today's assessment would attract both of you. Xiao Yanlong smiled as he cupped his hands together. It just so happens that Brother Jun has arrived in the Piercing Wind City today. I had intended to bring him around, but I never thought that everyone would be attracted to this place, so I called him along. I hope that Master Guan will not take offense. Indeed, today is a rare occasion, so I wanted to take a look. I hope I did not disturb the two of you. Jun Hongcheng smiled and said. However, while they were talking, Jun Hongcheng's eyes were still looking around. When he realized that the person he wanted to see was not here, he faintly revealed a trace of disappointment. What are the two of you talking about? Our Inscription Masters Association is honored that you are here. Guan Jingshan smiled and said, looking at Xiao Yanlong and Guan Zhenyu who were not far away. A trace of disdain appeared in Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes. This is really a big scene. It's just an Inscription Master's assessment and even the masters of two families are here. Jun Hongqing must have come here to see if father is here. Di Beichen's face turned cold. He did not miss Jun Hongqing's expression just now, however, he seems to be very disappointed that father is not here. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes widened and she immediately understood. So, they are here to show off? All these years, Jun Hongqing has been trying to replace us and cooperate with the Xiao family. Now that he has succeeded with great difficulty, he naturally wants to show off. Di Beichen's eyes turned cold. He increasingly felt that Jun Lingxuan and Jun Hongqing were really father and son. Their personalities were extremely similar. Let them be. Bailey Hongzhuang retracted her gaze. There was a hint of contempt and mockery in her bright eyes. Let's see if they can still laugh after a while. Although she was not sure if she would be able to activate the inheritance after becoming the Saintess of the Light, she had a hunch that she would succeed. Father, you're here. Xiao So welcomed him with a face full of smiles. At the same time, Jun Lingxuan was also by her side. Looking at the matching appearance of the two juniors, Xiao Yanlong and Jun Hongqing's eyes revealed a satisfied smile. Xiao Yanlong had previously felt rather depressed about the situation, but now he really felt that it was more pleasing to the eye. Father, since you're here, let's sit down and have a look, Jun Lingxuan said with a smile. Jun Hongqing looked around and nodded. Okay. As the patriarch of an aristocratic family, it was naturally impossible for him to sit in the stands with a group of young cultivators. Guan Jingshan immediately prepared seats for them and they sat together in the examination area. Before I came here, I heard that Bailey Hongzhuang of the Di family is a first-rate genius. Her inscription technique is also amazing. I really want to see it. Jun Hongqing looked meaningfully at Bailey Hongzhuang. There was a trace of malice and viciousness in the depths of his eyes. Chapter 53-38. If it wasn't for Bailey Hongzhuang, the Jun family wouldn't have suffered such a crushing defeat in Qishui City. If it wasn't for the small number of cultivators who entered, Shi Tao wouldn't have fallen. All of these had something to do with Bailey Hongzhuang. Feeling Jun Hongqing's venomous gaze, Bailey Hongzhuang calmly raised her eyes and looked straight into his eyes. The other party's imposing aura immediately disappeared in front of her. The golden sunlight shone on the slender and enchanting figure in white. Her slightly raised face was filled with confidence and brilliance. Her pair of bright eyes were emitting a terrifying brilliance and sharpness. For a moment, everyone present could feel the collision and sparks between Jun Hongqing and Bailey Hongzhuang. However, none of them expected that Bailey Hongzhuang would not be at a disadvantage when facing Jun Hongqing. In fact, she was even more dazzling. Guan Jingshan and Lu Yuhai quietly looked at each other. The situation today was really more complicated than they had expected. Jun Lingxuan noticed Bailey Hongzhuang's disdain towards his father and his face turned ugly. He immediately said, recently, the entire Piercing Wind City has been talking about Bailey Hongzhuang's inscription technique. It almost overshadowed the limelight of the Holy Maiden. If she didn't have an outstanding inscription talent, how would she dare to steal the limelight with such fanfare? Hearing this, Xiao Sou's face also revealed a mocking smile. That's right. Some people just like to play to the gallery. They just hope that they are really capable. Di Beichen saw that the other party was picking on Bailey Hongzhuang and a trace of sternness flashed across his sparkling eyes. Is this considered as the young one not being able to do it, so she found the old one to play against her? Di Beichen's magnetic voice that sounded like the sounds of nature came out of his mouth. It was like a clear spring in summer that made people's hearts turn cold. However, the words that came out of his mouth were filled with the smell of gunpowder. It carried a ruthless tit for tat, neither was he willing to back down. If Jun Hongqing's words were said with some concealment, then Di Beichen's words were said with disdain. Everyone could clearly feel the ridicule and contempt in his words. As these words fell, the expressions of Jun Hongcheng and the others became extremely ugly. Because none of them had thought that Di Beichen would say such a thing under the watchful eyes of so many people. Puchi! Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't help but chuckle. Di Beichen's words really hit the nail on the head. She also knew how vicious her husband's tongue was. The originally tense atmosphere became even more awkward with Bailey Hongzhuang's chuckle. It was obvious that she was mocking them. Di Beichen, don't go too far. Usually Di Beichen would diss him. However, now that Di Beichen had directly dissed his own father, how could Jun Lingshuan hold back? He jumped up as if his butt was on fire. You actually have no manners in front of your elders. You really have no manners at all. Xiao So was also angry. Elder, you should act like an elder. Di Beichen's expression was indifferent, as if the other party wasn't criticizing him. Since you think of yourself as an elder, you should speak more politely. Do you really think that everyone is an idiot who can't see through such blatant trampling? Chapter 53-39. Even though the anger in his heart was enough to ignite everything, Jun Hongcheng had no choice but to pretend to be tolerant. He smiled faintly and said, "It seems that my previous words were misunderstood by Di Gongzi. I was just mentioning the latest news." Ling Sun, don't say any more. But, father... Jun Lingshuan frowned. How could he let Di Beichen speak nonsense like this? Forget it. Jun Hongcheng emphasized, it's normal for young people to be a little angry, but you still need to have the corresponding strength. Since I dared to say it, I naturally have it. Di Beichen said faintly. He didn't feel that the other party's words were pointing at him. On the contrary, he admitted it so calmly. Looking at Di Beichen's stubborn appearance, Jun Hongcheng almost spat out a mouthful of old blood. If he knew that Di Beichen was such a guy, he wouldn't have said such words. Originally, he didn't want to do anything. After all, in this kind of situation, he always had to worry about his image. He just mentioned it a little. Who would have thought that it would lead to a series of consequences that made him regret it? The people below the stage naturally saw the situation and immediately sighed in their hearts. I've long heard that Di Beichen is extremely protective of his wife. Today, it seems that the rumors are true. Even if the Di family and the Jun family have always been enemies, Di Beichen actually dared to speak to the Jun family head like this. It's really shocking. This is too arrogant. I really envy Bailey Hongzhuang. If a man is willing to treat me like this, it's simply too fortunate. Seeing that the situation was too awkward, Xiao Yanlong couldn't help but speak out. Young people are naturally angry. Young Master Di, there's no need to take this to heart. It's a good thing that your wife is so talented, isn't it? Di Beichen glanced at Xiao Yanlong indifferently. He was too lazy to say anything to the enemy. Looking at Di Beichen's appearance, Xiao Yanlong's heart was also a little angry. He really didn't think that Di Beichen would be such a hothead who didn't care about anything. Even if the two sides were opponents, as a junior, at least on the surface, he should put on an act. Who would have thought that Di Beichen didn't care about this at all? Jun Hongcheng, Xiao Yanlong, are you trying to bully my family's juniors when I'm not here? At this moment, a deep and powerful voice came from outside the square, attracting everyone's attention. Then, Di to lead the Di Beichen to the crowd. Di Yujue, who was in the lead, was wearing a black robe. Compared to Di Beichen and the rest who had a jade-like face, Di Yujue was undoubtedly more mature and steady. His eyes were bright like stars and his black hair was like a waterfall. In addition to his innate awe-inspiring might, he became the focus of attention in the blink of an eye. His strong words were filled with dominance and fierceness. Di Yujue's gaze fell on Jun Hongcheng and Xiao Yanlong who were on the high platform. Although he was outside earlier, he had heard the words inside. He really didn't think that these two fellows would become more shameless as they got older. Under such circumstances, they actually had the nerve to target their juniors. Hearing these sudden words, Jun Hongcheng and Xiao Yanlong were both stunned. Originally, they came here because they thought that Di Yujue might have already arrived. They never thought that when they arrived, Di Yujue wasn't here. At this time, Di Yujue actually appeared. Most importantly, the timing of his appearance was so coincidental that it was a little awkward. Chapter 5340. Following Du Jue's words, the atmosphere in the open-air square became stifling. Everyone stared at Du Jue in a daze, their eyes filled with disbelief. Bewitching's words had already shocked them, and now Du Jue's words made them gasp. This was a blatant insult. He didn't try to cover it up at all, and it completely stunned everyone. For a moment, everyone was certain that Bewitching was Du Jue's son. Like father, like son. His words were so domineering, not giving the other party any face. At this moment, Du Jue did not care about this at all. His son and daughter-in-law had finally returned to the family with great difficulty. Usually, he did not have enough time to cherish them. Now that he was not around, these two guys actually held such a hongmen banquet to target them. How could he take this lying down? Jun Hongcheng and Xiao Yanlong's faces were darker than the bottom of a pot. Bewitching's words earlier were enough to make them angry, but at least they could cover it up. However, Du Jue's words made them lose face. Du Jue, don't you dare slander us. Jun Hongcheng stood up abruptly. His face was flushed red, and it was easy to see the anger on his face. Whether it's slander or not, everyone knows in their hearts. Du Jue was too lazy to pay attention to him. Jun Hongcheng originally wanted to properly argue with Du Jue, but who would have thought that this fellow would coldly say such a thing, making him unable to respond at all. This kind of feeling of not being able to use one's strength was truly uncomfortable. Most importantly, the thoughts of everyone present seemed to have been led astray by Du Jue's words. He had only casually mentioned it, okay? He had not said anything yet, but Bewitching had already begun to counterattack. It was one thing for him to endure it, but now even Du Jue was doing the same thing. Was he trying to anger him to death? How did he bully Bewitching and Bailey Hongzhuang? Guan Jingshan saw that the atmosphere was getting tenser and tenser, so he quickly stood out to smooth things over. Family head, welcome. The inscription test is about to begin. Why don't you sit down and rest first? Thank you, Master Guan. Du Jue looked at Guan Jingshan with a warm smile on his face. That apologetic and reasonable look was like a completely different person from his previous tit-for-tat attitude. When Xiren and the others looked at each other, in their eyes, Du Jue had always been a kind and amiable elder. However, today's events had made them realize just how strong Du Jue was. And this side of him made them admire this uncle even more. I finally know why Bewitching has always been so domineering. It's completely hereditary. Shengguan Yingying's eyes flashed with excitement. This was simply too mighty and domineering. Needless to say, the number of people who admired Du Jue was no less than Bewitching. This kind of man was simply too charming. Ao Lingxiao also nodded. Uncle is indeed domineering. Look at the Jun family's faces. Why do I feel so happy? I think so too. After Du Jue sat down on the high platform, Di Xiaofeng and the others walked to Bailey Hongzhuang's side. Their aura and foundation were instantly revealed. Chapter 5341. Beichin, what's going on? Di Xiaofeng couldn't wait to ask after sitting down. He was just a few days late. He couldn't understand how Hongzhuang got involved with the Inscription Association and even let Xiao Sou and the others use her. Feeling everyone's concerned gaze, Di Beichin also briefly explained the ins and outs of this matter. So it's like this. It seems that Xiao Sou and the others are really taking advantage of this opportunity. Di Xiaofeng furrowed his brows. But now that things have come to this, what do you plan to do next? Hongzhuang, do you really know how to inscribe patterns? Dai Haoan revealed a worried expression. Not only him, but all the cultivators of the Di family looked at Bailey Hongzhuang with worry. This result was too important. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. Don't worry. Hongzhuang, this assessment isn't a joke. Today's big battle is clearly aimed at you. If you fail the assessment, the Jun family and the Xiao family will definitely not let go of this opportunity to ridicule us. Di Xiaofeng's expression was serious. Now that things had come to this, it wasn't just Bailey Hongzhuang's problem anymore. It was related to the entire Di family. Recently, Xiao Sou had been in the limelight and they were already at a disadvantage. If this matter overlapped, then they really wouldn't be able to raise their heads for a while. I won't let them have this opportunity. Bailey Hongzhuang's gaze quietly fell on the black figure on the high platform. Her jade-like black phoenix eyes were filled with respect and love. Previously, Diyu Jue's protectiveness warmed her heart. She was very fortunate to have such a father. Even if he directly fell out with the other party in front of everyone, Diyu Jue didn't hesitate at all. Although all of this didn't match his usual image, it was precisely this kind of performance that vividly displayed his love for them. He was an elder that she respected and loved. She would definitely not let him lose in front of his opponent. Ever since she had transmigrated, she had suffered a lot of mockery and sarcasm. Thus, she cherished the love and care that came from the bottom of her heart. The inscription master examination begins now. After all the preparations were completed, Guan Jingshan did not delay any longer. He sat beside the three family heads. Even though he was at the edge, he could still feel the sparks from the collision. If he wasn't careful, a single spark could start a prairie fire. Therefore, it was better for him to hide. The first round of the examination is the Grade 1 Inscription Master Examination. All inscription apprentices, please step onto the high platform. As Guan Jingshan's voice fell, everyone's eyes lit up. Even though the previous show had stunned them, this was the real highlight of the show. Bailey Hongzhuang also slowly appeared on the stage under everyone's attentive gazes as the group of inscription apprentices walked up to the stage. The enchanting and slender white figure was like the moon surrounded by stars. She was still a unique existence among the inscription apprentices. She was always so dazzling and eye-catching. The first round of the examination is to draw the Grade 1 clear water inscription. In front of you, the materials needed for the inscription have been prepared. As long as you successfully draw the inscription within the stipulated time, you will pass. Guan Jingshan concisely and comprehensively explained the conditions and requirements of the competition. His loud voice allowed everyone to hear him clearly. Now, the examination begins. Chapter 53-42. On the high platform, hundreds of inscription masters were gathered together. In front of each of them were materials and instruments. All of these things were prepared by the Inscription Association. If it was before, Bailey Hongzhuang might be worried that someone would tamper with the materials. However, after knowing Guan Jingshan's character, she was completely at ease. After all, Guan Qian's expression in front of Guan Jingshan was like a mouse that saw a cat. It was impossible for him to tamper with the materials in front of Guan Jingshan. Level 1 Clear Water Inscription. This was the most basic inscription pattern. The effect of the clear water inscription was very simple. When it was superimposed on the weapon, it would allow the cultivator to be more focused. When fighting, they would be calmer and would not be affected by other things. Although the effect was not great, it was very useful in a battle or even a life and death situation. In the Grade 1 Inscription Master Examination, the clear water inscription was often used as a topic. Inscription patterns were different from alchemy. Every high-level inscription pattern was superimposed from the basic inscription patterns. If one could not even understand the basic inscription patterns, then it would be impossible to become a high-level inscription master. It was because of this that becoming a high-level inscription master required more time and effort than becoming a high-level alchemist. They had to master more inscription patterns. Only then would they have the possibility to improve. With the command, all of the inscription master apprentices started to move at the first moment. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at the various materials in front of her. She started to weigh, grind, and create the inscription liquid in an orderly manner. Inscription was a meticulous and long process. The entire process needed to be extra careful and there could not be any mistakes. When creating the inscription liquid, if there was one more or one less gram of material, then the inscription would not be successful. The inscription liquid could be said to be the most important. Diyu Jue sat down beside Xiao Yanlong. The two of them were good friends in the past, but at this moment, they had cold faces and did not pay attention to each other. From the day they shed all pretense of cordiality, all of their previous friendship had turned into nothingness. All that was left was cold hostility. Guan Jingshan and Lu Yuhai felt the stiff atmosphere between the three of them. The two of them could not help but sigh. This kind of heavy atmosphere was really depressing. Du Jue, I haven't seen you for a while. I see that your strength has not increased by much, but your temper has become much worse. Jun Hongcheng's face was cold. Just now, Du Jue had cursed him in front of everyone. Although Guan Jingshan had smoothed things over, the more he thought about it, the angrier he became. As the head of the Jun family, he was humiliated in front of so many people. How could he take this lying down? Of course I wouldn't treat others like this, but for someone like you, do I need to be polite? Du Jue raised his eyebrows slightly, his cold and handsome face full of disdain. In the past, he would have some scruples when facing Jun Hongqing, but now that he knew that Jun Hongqing was involved in Bei Chen's disappearance, he couldn't even be bothered to pretend to be amiable on the surface. Sooner or later, he would personally take off this guy's head. Jun Hongqing heard this and a trace of sharpness appeared in his eyes. In his mind, he was thinking, could it be that Du Jue had found out that they were the ones who did it? However, according to the news that came out, Di Kaiyuan did not say this news at that time. Chapter 53-43. That's true. Jun Hongqing suddenly chuckled. Everything that you were so proud of back then has now fallen into my hands. You can be arrogant all you want, but you've finally succeeded after so many years. Du Jue said indifferently. Are you feeling unbalanced? Jun Hongqing looked at Du Jue playfully. Back then, Du Jue had threatened that he would never succeed, and he still remembered it clearly. The Jun family had indeed never succeeded in so many years, but in the hands of Jun Hongqing, they had finally succeeded. Thinking of this, Jun Hongqing's original anger dissipated a little. After all, he was the one who had succeeded. I just didn't want it anymore, so I gave it to you out of charity. Du Jue's face was calm. You know the whole story, so there's no need to be complacent, because it wasn't your work in the first place. As soon as these words came out, Jun Hongqing's eyes narrowed again, but he threatened, I don't think so, it's just your precious son who ruined your plan. If not for that, why would you give up such a great opportunity? As far as I know, the power of your family's inheritance is getting weaker and weaker. Du Jue coldly glanced at Jun Hongqing, then retracted his gaze. You don't need to worry about that. We've known each other for so many years, I'm just concerned about you. You want to get information from me? Du Jue sneered. I advise you to give up on this idea. Besides, even if our family's power is really weakening, you haven't been able to bring us down for so many years, so don't you feel depressed? I'm too lazy to bicker with you, everyone knows the situation of your family. Jun Hongqing didn't take Du Jue's words to heart. The three families had been in contact for so many years, so he already knew the situation of the Di family. In fact, the relationship between the Jun family and the Di family was also very good hundreds of years ago. The heads of the two families were best friends, so both sides understood each other's situation quite well. However, because the Di family had always been suppressing the Jun family, over time, this relationship changed. Giving up Xiao Sou for a woman from a lower realm, only you can do that, it's really stupid. Even though he had picked up a big bargain, Jun Hongqing couldn't help but ridicule Du Jue. He was sure that Du Jue was also extremely depressed on this point. The impenetrable defense that they had built for so many years was suddenly destroyed, and the reason for this was not a big deal. From the perspective of the Di clan, how could they not feel heartache? Xiao Yanlong, who was standing to the side, listened to the discussion between the two and his already cold face turned even uglier. No matter how one looked at it, their marriage was rejected by the Di family. This made them lose face. Haven't you seen how powerful my daughter-in-law is? Du Jue didn't care. If it wasn't for that, you wouldn't have lost so badly in the pill refining competition. As soon as he finished speaking, Du Jue turned his head away, too lazy to pay attention to Jun Hongqing. This guy had only come here today to hold his head high in front of him, but he didn't intend to give Jun Hongqing this opportunity. No matter how proud Jun Hongqing was, at least in front of Du Jue, it was impossible for him to take advantage of him. Jun Hongqing was rendered speechless by Du Jue's words. After so many years, this guy's words were still infuriating. Chapter 53-44. Bailey Hongzhuang carefully ground the materials into powder and then separately put them into different containers. She was not in a hurry, and the whole process was pleasing to the eye. Obviously, this process was not beautiful, but when everyone saw Bailey Hongzhuang, they had a beautiful feeling. Compared to the other people's fluster, everything she did was really like moving clouds and flowing water, and it made people's eyes light up. After Xiao Soa noticed this scene, her face that was originally waiting to watch a good show suddenly stiffened a bit, and her slightly frowned brows revealed doubt and shock. She did not believe that Bailey Hongzhuang really knew the inscription pattern technique, but now, Bailey Hongzhuang's performance was impeccable, and everything was impeccable as if she was familiar with it. Because all the inscriptionists were preparing to draw the first-level Clearwater inscription, so everyone's steps were almost the same. So from Bailey Hongzhuang's preparation, it was easy to see that she really knew the preparation process of the first-level Clearwater inscription. How was this possible? Xiao Soa felt that it was unbelievable. When did Bailey Hongzhuang come into contact with the inscription pattern technique? After Jun Lingxuan noticed this point, his eyebrows suddenly jumped, and his low voice revealed a trace of worry and dignified. So, this Bailey Hongzhuang really knows the inscription pattern technique, right? This is impossible, Xiao Soa subconsciously said, and turned to stare at Jun Lingxuan, and her burning eyes eagerly wanted to get a confirmation. She can't be good at so many professions at the same time, am I right? Feeling Xiao Soa's anxiety and panic, Jun Lingxuan pulled her hand and said, "So, don't worry, there are so many people here, you can't lose your sense of propriety." Hearing this, Xiao Soa's tense body relaxed. At least she could not let others see the clues. Now, we are just preparing the inscription liquid, we have not started the inscription pattern yet. Bailey Hongzhuang also came prepared today, and in addition, most of the questions of the first-level inscription master examination are Clearwater inscription, so it is not strange that she knows the process of making the inscription liquid. However, if you want to draw the inscription successfully, it is not so easy. Jun Lingxuan's expression was extremely calm. Since Bailey Hongzhuang dared to come here today, she must have made some preparations, otherwise, even he would not believe it. Learning how to make the inscription liquid, although it was difficult, it could be done as long as one was focused enough, in addition to a woman's nature. However, to learn how to draw the inscription pattern in a short time, it was impossible. It was not easy to become an inscription master. A lot of people Clearwater Hongzan inscription pattern, but to learn Hongzhuang's talent. Even inscription patterns, S inscription pattern therefore, hers. Xiao Soa was originally nervous to the extreme, but when she heard Jun Lingxuan's words, she was relieved. Indeed, I was too nervous. Relax, the examination has just begun. Jun Lingxuan comforted her. After Bailey Hongzhuang grinded all the materials, she put them into the furnace, controlled the temperature, and began to boil the inscription liquid. Although this production of the inscription liquid was not complicated, but it required 100% concentration. If there was a slight difference in the temperature, it would cause the inscription liquid to fail. Chapter 53-45. Although Di Xiaofeng and the others received confirmation from Bailey Hongzhuang, their hearts were still drumming. Although they didn't understand the inscription technique, everyone knew that it wasn't easy to draw inscriptions. If it wasn't so, it wouldn't be so difficult for them to obtain inscriptions. However, after seeing Bailey Hongzhuang's orderly performance on the stage, everyone relaxed a little. I didn't think that Hongzhuang would really know the inscription technique. Now we can rest assured. Di Xiaofeng quietly let out a sigh of relief. Although the competition wasn't over, from Bailey Hongzhuang's performance, it could be seen that she was very familiar with the process. She definitely wasn't new to the inscription technique. Di's eyes and the others' eyes were filled with amazement. Who would have thought that Bailey Hongzhuang had other hidden talents besides the talent that she displayed before coming out? Beichen, isn't your wife a little too powerful? Di's eyes was ashamed. At that time, he actually doubted Bailey Hongzhuang's ability. Now it seemed that Bailey Hongzhuang was too lazy to be serious with him. I feel that in terms of ability, no one can be compared to the young madam. It's already very difficult for us to raise our cultivation. Not only did the young madam's cultivation not fall behind, she also mastered alchemy and medical skills. Now, she even dabbled in the inscription technique. If I didn't see it with my own eyes, I wouldn't dare to believe it. This person's words were undoubtedly the thoughts of many people. The cultivators in the group all nodded. This situation was really too amazing. Seeing that the inscription liquid in the furnace had reached the state that she wanted, Bailey Hongzhuang adjusted the furnace flame to the minimum to maintain the temperature. Then she picked up the inscription pen. The inscription paper was already prepared. After dipping it in the inscription liquid, she began to draw the level 1 Clearwater inscription. Among the many inscription apprentices, Bailey Hongzhuang's speed was undoubtedly the fastest. Only a few inscription apprentices were able to keep up with her speed. Most of the inscription masters were still making the inscription liquid. As soon as an expert made a move, one would know whether or not he was an expert. Guan Jingshan looked at Bailey Hongzhuang's skillful movements and a trace of admiration appeared in his eyes. He was sure that Bailey Hongzhuang had put a lot of effort into this inscription technique. Although everyone clearly remembered the steps, Bailey Hongzhuang clearly knew everything. Moreover, after many practice sessions, she knew how to make the inscription fluid in the shortest time possible. She also knew how to preserve the inscription fluid. In fact, when Bailey Hongzhuang arranged the materials on the table, he already understood. These materials were placed randomly. No one cared about the order, but in order to make it convenient for Bailey Hongzhuang to take them, she placed them in the most convenient way. He also had this habit. Looks like this Miss Bailey is indeed quite accomplished in inscription technique, Guan Jingshan said with a smile. Listening to Guan Jingshan's praise, Lu Yuhai's eyes slightly changed. He was a little surprised. Bailey Hongzhuang hasn't completed the inscription and you already know? Guan Jingshan smiled and nodded. I've been an inscription master for so many years. I still have this bit of eyesight. Chapter 5346. At this moment, Lu Yuhai was completely certain that his previous judgment was not wrong. Bailey Hongzhuang came here today because she had a card up her sleeve. Although Xiao So had set a trap for her, she was going to beat her at her own game. You said earlier that she was a deacon of your guild? Guan Jingshan revealed a curious expression. Although Lu Yuhai had mentioned this matter before, he did not take it to heart. Now that he had noticed Bailey Hongzhuang's performance, his interest was piqued. Such a talented young person was really rare. Lu Yuhai nodded slightly, his expression revealing a trace of pride and admiration. Don't look down on her young age. She is already a 9th grade alchemist. Previously, during the alchemy competition in Chishui City, she shocked all of us. In addition, I heard that her medical skills are also extremely outstanding. I also did not expect her to dabble in inscription technique. After hearing all this, Guan Jingshan's gaze towards Bailey Hongzhuang changed. Then, this Miss Bailey is really a genius among geniuses. The D family is really full of talents. Lu Yuhai smiled faintly as he looked towards Diyujua. Although the Xiao family and the Jun family had formed an alliance, in his opinion, the D family's development was not bad. The most important thing was that a young 9th grade alchemist like Bailey Hongzhuang had limitless possibilities to become a 10th grade alchemist in the future. The appeal of a 10th grade alchemist was extremely terrifying. This was also one of the reasons why he had tried to rope in Bailey Hongzhuang early on. President Lu is too kind. Diyu Jue's handsome face revealed a smile. Although his words were very modest, everyone could see that he was very proud of his daughter-in-law from his expression. Compared to Diyu Jue's pride, Jun Hongcheng and Xiao Yanlong could not help but look at each other, their hearts beating like drums. Wasn't it said that Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't be a real inscription master? Jun Hongcheng frowned. It was because he was sure of this that he decided to come here to take a look. If Bailey Hongzhuang was truly proficient in inscription techniques, then wouldn't they be giving Diyu Jue a chance to mock them? Xiao Yanlong's expression was also ugly. Let's wait and see for now. We can't be sure yet. Do you know anything about Master Guan? Will his judgment be accurate? Jun Hongcheng asked. Master Guan is an extremely famous master in the Piercing Wind City's Inscription Master Association. He is extremely knowledgeable about inscription techniques, and I'm afraid he wouldn't make a wrong judgment. Although Xiao Yanlong was unwilling to believe this, he still understood Guan Jingshan's strength very well. Hearing this, Jun Hongcheng's heart sank. It seemed that Jun Lingxuan and Xiao Sou had made a mistake on this point. Originally, he was full of confidence that Bailey Hongzhuang and the others would make a fool of themselves. But now, they had given Bailey Hongzhuang a chance to become famous. Just when everyone was guessing, Bailey Hongzhuang was drawing inscription patterns without any distracting thoughts. Actually, ever since she came to the upper realm, she had spent less time and energy on inscription techniques than before. However, she would still study it whenever she had time. These few days, she had already guessed that Xiao Sou would set a trap for her, so she had specially practiced. Chapter 53-47. Very quickly, almost all of the inscription masters on the stage began to draw. Everyone's gaze was focused on it. The drawing process was undoubtedly the most attractive. Level 1 clear water inscription wasn't complicated to Bailey Hongzhuang. She held the inscription pen in her hand and her movements were smooth and steady. Following that, a complicated blue inscription pattern was quietly formed on the inscription paper. A bright blue light flashed and everyone understood that Bailey Hongzhuang had successfully drawn it. It was easy to judge whether the inscription pattern was successfully drawn because only a successful inscription pattern would be able to flash such a light. When everyone saw this scene, their eyes were filled with astonishment. The rumors are true. Bailey Hongzhuang is indeed very good at inscription techniques. Then why did Xiao Sou purposely announce all of this? To help Bailey Hongzhuang become famous? From what I see, she probably didn't expect Bailey Hongzhuang to really know inscription techniques. Look at her stiff face. Her expression has already revealed everything. At this moment, Xiao Seiwu really couldn't control her expression. She clearly saw that light just now. There was absolutely nothing wrong with her eyes. Bailey Hongzhuang actually succeeded in inscription. How was this possible? Xiao Sou felt that she was going crazy from jealousy. She had also tried to learn inscription techniques, but she had never succeeded. Bailey Hongzhuang was not only good at alchemy and medicine, she had also become a level 1 inscription master. She couldn't believe that all of this was real. How is this possible? How is it possible that she really knows how to do it? Xiao Sou anxiously looked at Jun Lingxuan. At this moment, she was truly at a loss. It wasn't easy for her to create such a big scene. It was all for the sake of embarrassing Bailey Hongzhuang in front of everyone. However, after Bailey Hongzhuang's announcement, almost everyone knew that this matter was related to her. If all of this instead helped Bailey Hongzhuang, then wouldn't she become a joke in everyone's eyes? Jun Lingxuan also couldn't understand. Previously, they didn't think that there was any problem. Why did Bailey Hongzhuang display such talent at this moment? In the next second, Jun Lingxuan turned to look at Guan Qian. Guan Qian, didn't you say that Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't possibly know inscription techniques? Guan Qian was already stunned when he saw Bailey Hongzhuang successfully drawing the inscription pattern. After hearing Jun Lingxuan's question, he regained his senses. His pale face was filled with confusion and confusion. I don't know, Guan Qian panicked for a moment. He was shocked by the news. She came to our guild to look at related books, so she can't possibly be an inscription master. If she was an inscription master, then she could have seen many methods. Why did she have to do this? At this moment, Guan Qian was also confused. After connecting all the dots, he still felt that it was extremely strange. It didn't make sense at all. She couldn't have set up this trap from the start, right? Xiao Sou's fingers were intertwined and her brows were tightly knitted. Previously, when Bailey Hongzhuang agreed to take the assessment here, she felt that something wasn't right. At this moment, she finally understood that Bailey Hongzhuang had schemed against them again. Then what should we do now? Chapter 53-48. After completing the inscription, Bailey Hongzhuang's gaze quietly fell onto Xiao Sou's body. A dazzling smile appeared on her exquisite face, filled with arrogance and insufferably arrogance. This smile, in Xiao Sou's eyes, undoubtedly turned into mockery and flaunting, causing her to become even angrier. This damned Bailey Hongzhuang, she had purposely set a trap for them. Until this moment, when she recalled Bailey Hongzhuang's conflicted expression when she heard that the assessment would be held in the open-air plaza, she understood that all of this was just an act. Quickly look. Hongzhuang has already completed the inscription. An excited smile appeared on Shengguan Yingying's face. She was really worried that Xiao Sou and the others' scheme would succeed. After all, no one could guarantee that the inscription would be 100% successful. But at this time, if Bailey Hongzhuang failed, Xiao Sou and the others would mercilessly ridicule her, so the only way was to complete the inscription successfully. Hongzhuang's ability is indeed unquestionable. Wen Ziren also revealed a comfortable smile. The previous process had even made him a little nervous. Mo Yunjue's eyes were deep. Look, Xiao Sou is already jumping up and down. Hearing this, everyone's gaze didn't turn away. Indeed, Xiao Sou's face was already flushed red. At this moment, it was obvious that she was at a loss of what to do. She was anxiously thinking of ideas with Jun Lingxuan. Di Xiaofeng was also full of joy. Xiao Sou made such a big move this time, but in the end, she went for wool and came back shorn. Instead, it allowed Hongzhuang to be in the limelight. This is also a big blow to her reputation. Originally, they were invited to see how glorious and proud the Xiao family was, but they didn't expect to see Xiao Sou being ruthlessly slapped in the face. This was really a big gift for them. Bailey Hongzhuang has already succeeded. She seems to be the first to succeed. Lu Yuhai did not hide his appreciation for Bailey Hongzhuang. For this younger generation, he only felt that she was a rare genius. Her movements are very skillful. She must have practiced many times on a daily basis to be able to be so orderly. However, from another point of view, her temperament is also extremely stable and is not easily affected by the surrounding environment. Guan Jingshan nodded slightly, and his gaze landed on the other inscription master apprentices on the high platform. Compared to their usual performance, they were clearly a little flustered on the high platform that everyone was looking at. In a hurry, they made mistakes in a short while. With regards to this point, he could not help but sigh inwardly. The environment also had a certain influence on an inscription master. Especially in such an environment, everyone hoped to be able to better display their strength. However, it was precisely because they were anxious for success that led to failure. Looks like the failure rate for today's test isn't low. Hearing this, Lu Yuhai glanced at the performance of the other inscription masters on the stage and immediately understood. Everyone is still young, so they still need to train more. That's right, Guan Jingshan replied. When Diu Jua noticed that Bailey Hongzhuang had already succeeded, his heart was also extremely shocked. Chapter 53-49. Looking at Xiao Yanlong and Jun Hongcheng's complicated expressions, Diu Jua felt a burst of joy in his heart. These two guys teamed up to laugh at him, but he didn't expect that the situation would turn out like this. Just thinking about it made him feel amused. Dong! Along with the dull sound of the bell, Guan Jingshan's voice also sounded, "The assessment is over." As soon as he said this, there were a lot of failed inscriptions on the high platform. The failed inscriptionist apprentices looked at the ruined inscriptionist on the table, and their eyes dimmed. All of them hung their heads in dejection. They were extremely frustrated. As for the successful inscription masters, their faces were full of pride. First-grade inscription master and inscription apprentice, these were two completely different identities. Inscription apprentices could only be regarded as having a little understanding. Although they had the title of inscription master, in fact, they couldn't be considered as inscription masters. Naturally, they couldn't get the same respect as other inscription masters. However, once one became an inscription master, even if it was only first grade, the status was completely different. The inscription test was undoubtedly very simple. You could judge by looking at the specific luster. On the bulletin board at the side of the high platform, the names of the successful inscription masters suddenly appeared. Among them, Bailey Hongzhuang's name was the most dazzling. because she was the first inscription master to complete the assessment. Looking at this positive result, Xiao Sou's last hope was completely shattered. Bailey Hongzhuang actually became an inscription master. Guan Qian, it's all because of the good news you revealed. Xiao Sou looked at Guan Qian in exasperation. She only felt that she was about to explode. She really regretted that she didn't figure out the situation at that time and arrange this. She thought that Guan Qian was an inscription master, so he should be very clear about this aspect. Who would have thought that Guan Qian didn't understand the situation at all? Guan Qian's face was also very ugly. His young face was full of shock and doubt. He couldn't understand. Since Bailey Hongzhuang was an inscription master, why did she want to enter the library? This woman didn't do things according to common sense, so much so that such a big thing happened. Sister Sei Wu, I really didn't expect it to be like this. Guan Qian quickly explained. Xiao Sou frowned and looked at Guan Qian suspiciously. She stared at him for a long while until Guan Qian felt his hair stand on end. Only then did Xiao Sou say, Guan Qian, you couldn't have been bribed by Bailey Hongzhuang and joined forces with her to trick me, right? Hearing that, Guan Qian was slightly taken aback and hurriedly explained, Big Sister Sei Wu, this is absolutely impossible. I've known you for so many years. Why would I deliberately trick you? Seeing that Guan Qian's nervous explanation didn't seem to be fake, Xiao Sou retracted her gaze, but her expression was still extremely ugly. Diyu Jue looked at Jun Hongcheng, who was pretending as if nothing had happened, and said indifferently, Are you disappointed that you didn't see the scene you wanted to see? I don't know what you're talking about, Jun Hongcheng said coldly. Chapter 5350. Diyu Jue, I'm not saying anything because I can't be bothered with you. It's not because I'm afraid of you. Don't go overboard with your words. Jun Hongcheng narrowed his eyes. His lowered voice was filled with threat and anger. After not seeing Diyu Jue for a while, he felt that Diyu Jue was becoming more and more arrogant. Even if you had the upper hand in the Divine Cloud's secret realm, you shouldn't be so arrogant. You should know your limits. Hearing Jun Hongcheng's threatening words, Diyu Jue smiled calmly. Jun Hongcheng, why don't you think about how you were acting so smug in front of me when you're saying this? This whole thing had been a trap set up by you from the very beginning. Now that you've shot yourself in the foot, are you still going to blame me? Diyu Jue, as long as you don't have any evidence, don't spout nonsense. Xiao Yanlong spoke up as well. Actually, he was feeling very gloomy as well. Before they had arrived, Xiao Sou had solemnly vowed that there would be no problems with today's plan. However, after arriving, he realized that the situation was completely different from what Xiao Sou had said. Bailey Hongzhuang was not an expert in the art of inscription. On the contrary, she was extremely skilled in drawing first-level inscriptions. Based on her level of proficiency, it was clear that she had been in contact with the art of inscription for more than a day or two. Hearing Xiao Yanlong's words, Diyu Jue glanced at him indifferently. As far as I know, Xiao Sou had wanted to become an inscription master in the past as well. However, she did not have the talent in this area. It seems that my daughter-in-law is even more outstanding. As soon as he had spoken, Diyu Jue retracted his gaze. Now that he and Xiao Yanlong had become enemies, there was no need for him to hold back when he spoke. He had always been a person who respected others tenfold. Since the other party had set up such a trap for them, he would naturally show no mercy when he exposed them. Only by letting these fellows know the power of the D family would they have more scruples in the future. However, they had been lucky enough to have arrived. If they had not arrived, he would not know how his daughter-in-law and son would have been treated. Therefore, his heart was filled with anger. Diyu Jue's words. Xiao Yanlong was at a loss for words. In the past, the two families had been on very good terms with each other, and Diyu Jue had understood Xiao Sou's situation very well. Even if he wanted to explain that this was not the case, it was useless. On this point, Xiao Sei Wu really couldn't compare with Bailey Hongzhuang. Although the crowd could not hear what Diyu Jue and the other two were talking about, they could tell from the ugly expressions on Xiao Yanlong and Jun Hongcheng's faces that they must have been humiliated. This time, Patriarch Xiao and Patriarch Jun will lose face. That's right. They had put in so much effort to set up such a trap. In the end, it was all for naught. Instead, they were ridiculed by the D family's patriarch. Just thinking about it makes me feel sour. Now it seems that Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen are indeed smarter than Xiaosou. No wonder they were able to show off in the Immortal Cloud's secret territory and firmly suppress the Xiao and Jun families' teams. The situation was suddenly one-sided. Everyone had come here today to laugh at this joke. They did not care whether the other inscriptionists had passed the examination or not. However, everyone had thought that they were here today to see how Bailey Hongzhuang would be humiliated. They never thought that they would see Xiaosou's face being swept to the ground. Chapter 53-51. Feeling the surrounding cultivators looking at her with eyes full of ridicule, Xiaosou's complexion became abnormally ugly. She couldn't help but look at Jun Lingxuan. She was somewhat flustered as the situation was completely out of her expectations. For a moment, she didn't know how to end the situation. Lingxuan, what should we do now? If they didn't say anything, they were destined to be ridiculed by everyone. Jun Lingxuan was also somewhat flustered. This kind of situation was something they didn't expect. Therefore, they didn't prepare a way to deal with it. However, at this critical moment, he suddenly thought of an idea in the midst of the emergency. So, previously there was a rumor that Bailey Hongzhuang is a first-rate inscription genius. It's only a first-grade inscription master. That's nothing. Jun Lingxuan's complexion immediately calmed down. A trace of brilliance once again appeared in his eyes. Hearing Jun Lingxuan's words, Xiaosou was slightly stunned. Then, a trace of a smile rose on her face. That's right. It's only a first-grade inscription master. That's nothing. A first-grade inscription master was only the entry level of an inscription master. Even if Bailey Hongzhuang succeeded, it couldn't be said that she was a genius that only exists in heaven and earth. Now, the first-grade inscription masters who passed the assessment, please step down from the high platform to receive your inscription master badge. The next assessment will be the second-grade inscription master. Guan Jingshan's face rippled with a kind and harmonious smile. His deep and resounding voice rang out from the high platform. Although he also understood that everyone came to watch today to see Bailey Hongzhuang's assessment, but since he had already prepared this, he naturally had to carry it through to the end. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang also walked down from the high platform and went to receive her inscription master badge. Obtaining this thing also had a lot of benefits, just like the identity of the Alchemist Guild. In the future, if one wanted to buy inscription materials, it would undoubtedly be more convenient to buy them at the Alchemist Guild. As Bailey Hongzhuang walked down from the high platform, when she passed by Xiaosou, she suddenly said, "Bailey Hongzhuang, don't be too complacent. You only passed the first-grade inscriptionist test. Previously, the news you released said that you are a first-rate inscription genius, but this kind of result doesn't seem to be enough, right?" The D clan's cultivators, who were originally cheering excitedly, were enraged when they saw Xiaosou coming out to find trouble at such a time. "Xiao Seiwu, why are you stirring up trouble again?" Shangguan Yingying glared furiously at Xiaosou. She had been extremely displeased with this fellow ever since they were in the Immortal Cloud mystic realm. Now, the longer she knew him, the more she hated him. "I'm just voicing my opinion, but you guys aren't allowing me to speak?" Xiaosou's eyes were filled with ridicule. "Bailey Hongzhuang hasn't even said anything yet. Do you need to jump out in such a hurry? Everyone knows what's going on. Don't pretend to be innocent. Weren't you the one who planned this from the beginning to the end? Now you're actually trying to climb all over us. Are you done yet?" Shangguan Yingying was not afraid of Xiaosou at all. When it came to bickering, she had never been afraid of anyone. "Shangguan Yingying, don't you dare spout nonsense again," Xiaosou said angrily. A mere fellow from the lower realm dared to be so arrogant in front of her. Chapter 53-52. Hearing Shangguan Yingying's question, the members of the D family shook their heads. "That's right. You're absolutely right. Everyone was already filled with resentment towards Xiao Sou for setting up this hangmen banquet. Now that this fellow's scheme had failed, he actually wanted to find fault with them. Naturally, they couldn't stand it any longer. Wasn't this bullying the D family? Looking at the D family's united front, Xiao Sou was so angry that she was speechless. Seeing this, Jun Lingxuan also spoke out. What we said was the truth. The news that spread earlier had exaggerated your own achievements to the heavens. Now, the results of a first-grade inscriptionist are nothing. Then, according to young Master Jun, what kind of results would be considered acceptable for my wife? Di Beichen stood in front of Bailey Hongzhuang. His handsome face carried a trace of indifference. His voice was calm and unwavering, but one could faintly feel the pressure from it. Hearing this, Jun Lingxuan paused and said, "In my opinion, she would have to at least be a second or third grade inscriptionist." When these words were spoken, everyone present could not help but suck in a breath of cold air. This Jun Lingxuan really knows how to talk. The moment he opens his mouth, he's already talking about a second or third grade inscriptionist. This isn't something that can be achieved so easily. That's right. If Bailey Hongzhuang wholeheartedly studies inscriptions, then so be it. However, she has put more effort into alchemy and medical skills. In my opinion, inscriptions are only slightly dabbled in. To be able to become a first-grade inscriptionist is already amazing. To want to become a second-grade inscriptionist or even higher, isn't that too difficult? Xiao Sou and the others don't care too much. Their goal today is to embarrass Bailey Hongzhuang. Don't tell me they want her to be in the limelight? Just as everyone was complaining about the injustice for Bailey Hongzhuang, Bailey Hongzhuang's lips suddenly curled into an enchanting and playful smile. In that case, as long as I become a second or third grade inscriptionist, you will obediently shut your mouths? Seeing that Bailey Hongzhuang actually agreed, Xiao Sou's eyes revealed a trace of joy. Of course, the premise is that you have to have the ability. Bailey Hongzhuang took her first-grade inscriptionist badge from the side and continued, "I never intended to just take the exam for a first-grade inscriptionist." Hearing these words, everyone present was stunned. They all looked at Bailey Hongzhuang in astonishment. They wondered if they had heard wrong. In the next moment, Bailey Hongzhuang's actions clearly told everyone that they hadn't heard wrong. Bailey Hongzhuang's figure flashed and directly walked up to the high platform. Now, the people standing on the high platform were all about to take the second-grade inscriptionist exam. When everyone saw that Bailey Hongzhuang had also joined the team, they were all a little surprised. Is this true? Bailey Hongzhuang actually wants to take the second-grade inscriptionist exam? Looking at the situation, I'm afraid it's not fake. But isn't this too unbelievable? Not to mention the others, even Dai Heoan and the others were shocked when they saw this scene. Previously, when they saw that Bailey Hongzhuang had passed the first-grade inscriptionist exam, they heaved a sigh of relief and felt that they were too lucky. But now, the young mistress actually wanted to continue the exam. If she really passed the exam, then her strength and talent were too shocking. Chapter 53-53. Following Di Xiaofeng's words, Di's eyes and the rest looked at Di Beichen curiously. They were really looking forward to this result. Seeing this, Di Beichen chuckled. "Since Hongzhuang dares to go up, what do you guys think?" Everyone retracted their gazes. From Di Beichen's expression, they knew that Bailey Hongzhuang's inscription technique was far more powerful than they had imagined. This time, Xiao Sou had really dug a hole and buried herself in it. However, they really wanted to see Xiao Sou's expression later. It would definitely be more interesting than now. When Guan Jingshan saw Bailey Hongzhuang appear on the stage again, his eyes revealed a trace of astonishment. According to Bailey Hongzhuang's previous performance, she shouldn't have been provoked by Xiao Sou. Could it be that she had profound attainments in inscription technique? President Liu, could it be that this Miss Bailey doesn't only dabble in inscription technique, but also has a deep understanding of it? Lu Yuhai subconsciously glanced at Bailey Hongzhuang and shook his head. "You should ask the Di family head about this. I only know that Bailey Hongzhuang is an inscription genius. As for other conveniences, I really don't know." When he said this, Guan Jingshan and Lu Yuhai's gazes fell on Di Yujue. They were really looking forward to Bailey Hongzhuang's performance. At the same time, although Xiao Yanlong and Jun Hongqing on the other side pretended to be indifferent on the surface, they were actually listening carefully. They also wanted to know what level Bailey Hongzhuang's inscription technique had reached. Diu Jue chuckled and said, Hongzhuang has always placed most of her energy on cultivation. She doesn't put much energy on inscription technique, so she rarely mentions it. All of us didn't know that she could reach this step with just a little understanding. It's probably because of interest. Hearing Diu Jue's casual words, Xiao Yanlong and Jun Hongqing were completely speechless. Because of interest? She could become a first-grade inscription master just by learning occasionally? If it was really like this, then there were so many inscription apprentices who couldn't become an inscription master after studying for so many years. Xiao Shou had tried all kinds of methods but still couldn't succeed. Were you trying to beat them to death? Would you die if you didn't boast? When Guan Jingshan heard this, he didn't have any doubts. Compared to Bailey Hongzhuang's attainments in alchemy and medicine and her interest in inscription technique. So that's how it is. It seems that Miss Bailey is really a first-rate genius. Lu Yuhai also nodded. This is an extremely difficult method in the eyes of ordinary people. When it comes to Bailey Hongzhuang, it seems to have become exceptionally simple. Very quickly, all the second-grade inscription masters appeared on the high platform. Compared to the first-grade inscription master examination, the number of inscription masters participating in the second-grade inscription master examination was greatly reduced. It was less than 2/3 of the previous examination. Bailey Hongzhuang still stood in her previous position and was as eye-catching as ever. The second-grade inscription master examination will now begin. Guan Jingshan stood up and announced, the content of the examination is the second-grade inscription. As long as you successfully draw it within the stipulated time, you can pass. Everyone already knew the rules in their hearts, so Guan Jingshan didn't say anything and directly started the second-grade inscription master examination. Chapter 53-54. Looking at Bailey Hongzhuang confidently and methodically beginning to produce the inscription liquid, Xiao Shou suddenly had a bad premonition in her heart. Bailey Hongzhuang agreed too calmly, as if she had already expected that they would have such an excuse. She didn't even have the slightest hesitation. She had already fallen into the trap once before. If this time she fell into the hands of Bailey Hongzhuang, then she would really lose face. Ling Sun, I think Bailey Hongzhuang's performance is very strange. Xiao Shou frowned as time gradually passed. The uneasiness in her heart continued to increase. Jun Lingxuan also had this feeling in his heart. Suddenly hearing Xiao Shou's words, his mood became even more complicated. This Bailey Hongzhuang is really too unpredictable. I don't understand how she can be so good at so many methods. As the young master of an aristocratic family, he had seen more than 1 or 2 genius cultivators. Like Ouyang Jifeng, who was good at alchemy, there were also geniuses like him. However, one talent was understandable. Even if it was 2 talents, although rare, it was still acceptable. But again and again, except for Bailey Hongzhuang, he really hadn't seen anyone else. Xiao Shou also fell into silence. In the past, she had always looked down on people from the lower realm, but now, her performance really made them unable to say anything disdainful. If Bailey Hongzhuang really becomes a second-grade inscription master, then what should we do? Xiao Shou couldn't help but ask. Now she really didn't have any confidence in Bailey Hongzhuang's performance. Let's wait and see. Jun Lingxuan didn't speak. For this situation, he also didn't know what to do. His gaze quietly fell on Di Beichen's body. At this moment, he was really jealous of this lucky guy. On the high platform, Bailey Hongzhuang began to draw without any distractions. These inscriptions had been practiced thousands of times before. All the lines had long been memorized. The best way to increase the success rate of this inscription was to practice more. It was precisely because of this that she had spent a lot of time and energy, but she was also very satisfied with the results. With a flash of gray light, Bailey Hongzhuang stopped drawing again. Everyone looked at her calm and relaxed appearance, and their hearts became more and more emotional. She actually succeeded. Bailey Hongzhuang is really a second-grade inscription master. This is too surprising. I feel that this time, Xiao So really spent a lot of effort to give Bailey Hongzhuang a chance to become famous. However, Bailey Hongzhuang is probably very low-key. If it was an ordinary person, they would have already come for the examination when they were able to draw a first-grade inscription. Why would they wait until now? It was unknown who suddenly thought of this point, but instantly, everyone came to a realization. It seemed to be the case. Xiao So, who was already extremely depressed after hearing everyone's words, her face flushed red and she hated that she couldn't spit out a mouthful of blood. This damn fellow, did he think that she wasn't angry enough? He actually sprinkled salt on her wound like this. The smile on Diu Jue's face became even more brilliant. On the other hand, Xiao Yanlong and Jun Hongcheng's expressions had already stiffened to a certain extent. Chapter 53-55. In the process of drawing the second-grade inscription pattern, Bailey Hongzhuang was still the first to succeed. It was because of her speed that the inscriptionists who were taking the test also felt a wave of pressure. Many of them were anxious to succeed under this pressure and failed. Just based on Hongzhuang's proficiency, her inscription technique is far beyond Xiao So's imagination. Shengguan Ying was now relaxed. She wasn't worried about Bailey Hongzhuang at all. On the contrary, she was most worried about Xiao So. The final result was as expected. Bailey Hongzhuang successfully obtained the second-grade inscriptionist badge. Regarding this, the ashen-faced Xiao So didn't know what to say. If he had known earlier, he would have let it go. He wouldn't have fallen to such a state. However, before Xiao So could say anything, Bailey Hongzhuang took the initiative to say, "Don't worry, I will continue to take the third-grade inscriptionist exam." Once these words were out, it was tantamount to throwing a heavy bomb in everyone's heart. Everyone couldn't help but be dumbfounded. They didn't dare to believe that Bailey Hongzhuang actually wanted to continue taking the test. Faced with the devastatingly beautiful face in front of her, Xiao Se-wu only wished that she could rush up and tear it apart. However, under such circumstances, he could only swallow his anger. He gritted his teeth and said, "It's best if you can pass the test. Otherwise, you'll make a fool of yourself." In this regard, Bailey Hongzhuang directly threw a disdainful look. It was impossible for her to let Xiao Se-wu get what she wanted. When everyone saw that Bailey Hongzhuang wanted to continue taking the third-grade inscriptionist exam, they didn't know what to say to express their feelings. Not to mention the bystanders, even the inscriptionists who were taking the test were speechless. "Miss, you're not here to take the test. You're here to scare people, right?" If they were able to advance by 1 grade, they would be overjoyed. They had already rushed over to take the test. After all, advancing by 1 grade meant that one's identity and status were completely different. Bailey Hongzhuang, on the other hand, had clearly reached such a level, yet she had not come to take the test. Were you deliberately trying to hurt her? In comparison, these older people really felt their old faces turn red. Their temperament couldn't even compare to a young girl's. When everyone saw the flash of light again, they knew that Bailey Hongzhuang had successfully drawn the third-grade inscription pattern. The fourth-grade inscriptionist examination begins. When Guan Jingshan saw that Bailey Hongzhuang still didn't show any signs of walking down the stage, he didn't know what to say. He had stayed in the Inscription Association for so many years, so he had naturally seen many inscription master geniuses. However, if one were to talk about whose assessment was so frightening, if Bailey Hongzhuang claimed to be second, no one would dare to claim to be first. Who didn't come for the assessment every time they broke through a level? Bailey Hongzhuang, on the other hand, didn't even take the test before. Now, she was taking the test all the way without any intention of stopping. He even felt that the fourth-grade inscriptionist exam might not be the final test. Lu Yuhai's eyes shone brightly. Bailey Hongzhuang always amazes everyone with a single brilliant feat. Chapter 53-56. Hearing Lu Yuhai say that Bailey Hongzhuang was just as shocking, Guan Jingshan's mood calmed down a bit. At least he wasn't the only one in this situation. The juniors today were getting more and more shocking. It wasn't simple to be able to keep calm with this kind of ability. Guan Qian didn't know what to say at this moment. Bailey Hongzhuang brought too much shock. Now he felt that Bailey Hongzhuang deliberately came to the Inscription Association to tease him. Why would she go to the library with this kind of standard? Weren't the books in the library usually the simplest ones? Bailey Hongzhuang's inscription technique had already reached this level. It wasn't at the entry level at all. Reading those books was useless. She passed the 4th grade Inscription Master exam. She passed the 5th grade Inscription Master exam. The announcement had already shocked everyone to the point that they were numb. Could you be any more shocking? Young madam is too abnormal. We didn't even hear that she knew inscription techniques before. The D family's members were all amazed. Even if they were numb from the shock, this kind of feeling still made them feel very happy. D Xiaofeng couldn't help but pat D Beichen's shoulder and said, "Beichen, don't let Hongzhuang keep a low profile in the future. Otherwise, when she suddenly shows her talent, it will completely shock us." D Beichen chuckled, "Big brother, that depends on Hongzhuang's thoughts." The head of the D family, Bailey Hongzhuang, really hit it well. Lu Yuhai sighed and shook his head. Thinking back, he was worried that Bailey Hongzhuang would fall into Xiao Sou's trap. Now it seemed that he was worried for nothing. Xiao Sou was completely played by Bailey Hongzhuang. The smile on Du Jue's face was extremely bright. I didn't expect Hongzhuang's inscription technique to be so outstanding. It really surprised me. Listening to Du Jue's words, Jun Hongqing couldn't help but secretly snort. Who would believe this kind of words? There was no need to think to know that Du had already known about this situation long ago. It was just that he had deliberately pretended not to know earlier, and had even tricked them step by step. Of course, they did blame Du Jue for this because he didn't know that his daughter-in-law was so powerful. The ability that she showed before had already surprised them, and now, even he was amazed at how his daughter-in-law did all this. When Jun Hongqing saw that Bailey Hongzhuang had started the assessment, his face completely darkened. If he knew that it would be like this, he wouldn't come here today. Now, he couldn't leave even if he wanted to leave. This Bailey Hongzhuang is just pretending to be a pig to eat a tiger. She's completely leading people into a ditch. Jun Hongqing lowered his voice. Now, he could no longer look at Bailey Hongzhuang with the same indifferent attitude as before. This woman was now a well-known figure among the younger generation. If she was allowed to continue developing, she would definitely be extremely terrifying in the future. Don't think that these abilities were not cultivation. In fact, everyone knew that the appeal of a master was limitless. Now that Bailey Hongzhuang had 3 identities, who could compare with her appeal in the future? You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.